Greetings, Legionnaires, and welcome to the Wrestling Legion Weekly Podcast. This week, all about this man, sat behind me. Most deserving man, but we will get to it anyway. I am Nick the Geek. I am joined, of course, by the Redeemer himself. I'm joined by Andy. Andy, how the hell are you doing?
I am absolutely awesome, my friend. I am so happy that the Ring General himself has broke the record.
Yeah, it's amazing. We are unfortunately not joined this week by the third part of our pyramid. Sai is busy he's off on another secret mission. Simon, I hope you do well. Please don't get shot, and we will see you when you get back. Right, but on to the topic of the hour, Andy. On to the man of the hour. On to now on record, the greatest intercontinental champion in the history of World Wrestling Entertainment and the World Wrestling Federation. Finally, the Honky Tonk Man's perch has been knocked off. Gunther broke the record. I'm not sure of do you know the number of days exactly? Because I'm never sure.
No, I can tell you, give me a couple of minutes and I will tell you, my good friends.
Thank you kindly. Yes, this is fantastic news. I was elated a few years ago when the New Day beat Demolition's record for the Tag Team Championships because it showed that the company was finally moving forward with all things, including who they consider to be the top in the business. And yet again, I'm sorry, I can't stand the Honky Tonk Man, all the respect to him in the world for what he did in the business, but he's a prick. And it's about time that record got beat by someone deserving. I have many occasions, Andy, have described Gunther as the perfect wrestler. You and I have both had the pleasure of watching him live. How are you feeling on this? What was your first reaction?
I am absolutely elated. I remember Gunther from his days in the Indies. Always loved him. Thought he was absolutely awesome. And I'm just over the moon that he's finally getting what he deserves.
Yeah, it's just the man has worked so hard for so many years. He's never put a foot wrong. You never hear a bad backstage story about him. He's always very respectful. He's a professional's professional. And to see someone who's gone from WXW over in Germany to What Culture Pro Wrestling to Progress to ICW to all the indies in the UK that he worked for all those years, to see him climb to the top of the mountain and become arguably the greatest mid-card champion in the history of the mid-card. That title right now means more than Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship. It means absolutely bucket loads more than the US title. I mean, how do you think he's done at raising the prestige of the belt?
I think he's absolutely done a great job because before then there was no champion like that in the mid-card vortex, as they called it. It's one thing that Triple H has to take credit for. He's really changed this mid-card. Mid-card's just changed completely. One thing that always annoyed me was people were going on, you'll never have a challenger for Roman, but how are you meant to when your mid-card's so weak? But now the mid-card's getting there, and you look at the mid-card now and you think to yourself, okay, we've got Gunther there now, we can go and challenge. We've got Damian Priest who's getting there. There's all these people who are coming up now from the mid-card and getting, LA Knight's another one, getting brought up into the main. Chad Gable. There's people there who are being stuck in the mid-card who are now coming forwards, who are going to be stars and can be stars. Not all of them are going to go and reach that brass ring, but the fact that they've been built in the mid-card to come up to that top end, to the main event scene, shows of the good work that's getting done there. And just let you know, it was 454 days that Gunther beat.
Thank you. There we go. So he's now on.
And just for one thing as well is, I'm not having all this as well where people are saying Gunther's only defended the 40 times where Honky Tonk's done so many. If you want to start counting house shows, then to you.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't care about title defenses, right? It comes down to length. Orange Cassidy had more title defenses in 7 months than Roman Reigns has had in 4 years. What does that mean? He was a better champion than Roman Reigns? No, it doesn't. It means that he was booked differently.
Although he was a very good champion.
Oh yeah, Orange is fantastic. Yeah, but back to the man of the hour. I myself I've stated on more than one occasion the favorite match I've ever seen live was Walter versus Ilya Dragunov at Progress Chapter 128. And we were front row for it. It was phenomenal. Your favorite Gunther match? just generally
Dragunov.
Yeah, it's always Dragunov.
110%.
Which
that
do you
helps you out
think
though as well, because where is right, Jim? Where is Dragunov now? And if Gunther does go up to go and grab that brass ring, which we all believe he will, what a match to revisit again.
Oh, was going to get to my next point. Dragunov is right there in NXT. They already know that match will draw attention because it drew attention during the pandemic when there's no crowd. People tuned in to watch that match. Yeah. It drew huge ratings on the network. Other than Ilya, who do you see as a potential person to beat Gunther and end the reign? I think they should just keep it going for as long as needed, personally. But that's just me. I'd even be happy if we had an Ultimate Warrior situation where Gunther challenged Roman while he was the Intercontinental Champion. Yeah. I think that'd be great.
I think Gable will be take it off him. Or I don't really know. I mean, you could use it to introduce a person from the NXT roster, maybe Braun Breaker or a.
Oh God, no! Don't say that.
Or Mello might come up and take it off him. Do you know what I mean? One thing with WWE is they don't care. Yeah, Chad Gable or nobody. Totally agree with you, Jim. I think the thing with I think what you might find now is we've had the 2 matches of Gable and Gunther in 2 singles matches. We may see somewhere along the line very shortly a triple threat match, and I think that's where they take the title off him. In a triple threat, if you want to do it the proper way. But as we know, WWE, if they're about to strap the Rocketeer, they don't really care if you lose or not. So, you might do the honours on the way out the door with that title.
I will say.
Let me ask you a question, though, Nick.
Of course, go on.
What is next for Gunther now? Because the thing is with Gunther, he's been having these bangers after banger after banger. He's been doing really well in terms of how he's presented that IC Championship, all leading up to this record. Now that record's gone, what you do next with him?
Now is the time to divert direction in the story. The story of Gunther is that you put Gunther in the ring with anybody, he will beat them down and beat them down and beat them down until they can't take anymore. But in any sport, after you're a fighter yourself. After a certain amount of years in the sport, people start to be able to read that fighter. They start to be able to know his ebbs, his flows. So now is the time where Chad Gable's been used perfectly. You've had him have the count-out victory, then you've had him get a very, very competitive match that he lost. But now Chad is starting to see the chinks in the armor. And that's where other challengers will start to see the chinks in the armor. And the story becomes, how well can Gunther hold out and keep going with this reign?
Does it, though? Or do you make him go up to the next... Does he go up to the main event scene now?
Well, I would be ecstatically happy if he challenged Seth Rollins while he was Intercontinental Champion. I think Gunther would make a fine World Heavyweight Champion on Monday Night Raw. He is, as I've said many times, the perfect professional wrestler. He is, and that's in and out of the ring. He holds himself like a champion. He acts like a champion, walks like a champion, talks like a champion. The man is wrestling personified, and having him in any position, as long as he's booked correctly, is fine. But to see a Ultimate Warrior-esque push where he was still the Intercontinental Champion when he wins the World Heavyweight title would be a very wise decision, I think, for the company. Gunther is super over, super over. But that raises the question, do they want 2 heel World Heavyweight Champions?
Yeah. I think the other thing as well is, Jim, what do you think on this, mate? Let's get your thoughts to be good. I think you could do it where it'd be totally left field, maybe, but it's something that you could potentially do, and then you've got a story there. It is. He beats Seth Rollins, Gunther, while he's still the Intercontinental IC champion. But then Damian Priest comes in and cashes on. Takes the belt off him. He keeps hold of the title, but then you've got Imperium mixed in with the Judgment Day, Imperium chasing the Judgment Day, etc. Whatever you want to do it that way. Could be a good way to get him into that. Yeah.
That works. But
I mean, with him being the ring general, he can fits in, he can slide in anywhere he wants, can't he? But
yes, that's the thing about Gunther's character. Gunther works on every level of the business because he is what he is. He's a very simple presentation on Gunther, and simple presentation, when it is executed well, is the best kind of presentation. You don't want to overcomplicate a wrestler. It's not a complicated sport, even though it is a complicated sport. It's not a complicated viewing experience, is what I should have said. I am just, at this point, I agree with Jim. I think Chad Gable's the perfect guy to end the reign. But I would like to see a George the Animal Steel, Randy Savage approach to this, but with the roles reversed. So George was the big angry man that nobody could beat. Randy was the little technical.
Good one.
Gunther wins the heavyweight championship and then hands the title to Cat. Ooh, good hat. I like that idea. It'd be good for.
I like that, mate. I like that. I do like that.
Yeah, so do I. It's a good idea, Jim.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think the biggest thing at the moment is getting him into that world title scene or getting him into that main event scene. But the thing with Gunther is, because it's the whole ring general thing and stuff like that, you can slide him into that main event now pretty easily, which is something that everybody hated the Gunther character, everybody hated what it all stood for, and now, me personally, I think WWE, you know, credit where credit's due, they've done a really good job with it, and because of the character and the way they've built it and everything else, there is a way of getting him into that main event scene very, very easily.
Well, Gunther's presented like a world heavyweight champion. It doesn't matter what title he's got. He's presented like a champ. He's presented like a credible threat to just about anybody in the business. It's a simple storytelling mechanic. It's be yourself with the volume turned way up. All the most successful guys in WWE generally aren't the characters they create themselves. They're the guys they take from somewhere else. Let's not forget Vince built the business by taking the biggest names out of every territory and putting them under one roof. When you bring in a guy who already has an established character and you just make little tweaks to that character, you change his name, you change the color that he wears, you slightly alter the entrance music so it doesn't have quite so many World War II implications. It presents them in a new light, but in a familiar light, and this helps them maintain their previous fan base while at the same time attracting a new one. It's a very good business tactic. Gunther, Seth, you claim to be the best champion. Go on.
Well, Gunther, Seth, you claim to be the best champion in the world, but my title is far more prestigious than yours, and it's about time somebody done something about it. I challenge you, Seth Rollins. Boom. My point exactly, Jim. It writes itself, mate. You know, the whole character and the way it is, easily done. And you may be the world champion, but I am the ring general.
Yes.
Easy done. Do you know what I mean? I mean, the thing is, you've got the Kaiser there, haven't you? Gunther doesn't even really need to even open his mouth.
No, he's got a completely decent mouthpiece for him.
Yeah.
And Kaiser,
right.
I love Kaiser. Ludwig Kaiser is fantastic. I think he's integral to Gunther's character because he's Gunther's subordinate. He's his number one flunky, and everybody needs the number one flunky. Giovanni Vinci does nothing for the act. Zero for the act, except just be a punching bag when they need somebody to lose. Do you think the rumors of bringing Dragunov in and making him part of Imperium work, or would you rather see it as immediate opponents?
No, I think if you're going to go down the hole, because you know for the fact if somebody, whoever wins that world title off Seth, if he isn't injured and he still wants to go on, which we'll go into more detail later, then you've got a lot more of a story to tell there. But also, don't forget, I think Gunther's not going to get his push till next year because of the fact that you do have the whole Judgment Day story that still needs wrapping up and the Money in the Bank briefcase, etc. So I don't feel like you're going to get Gunther going for that title just yet. So bringing Dragunov in and then maybe having them do some other bits and bobs is really good to have him there. Then when Gunther wins the title, you don't just have a throwaway match of Dragunov versus Gunther for nothing. There's actually a history there now with it. I mean, you know, I know that we've got a history in terms of they've had these matches before, but for your general WWE audience, you've got a proper storyline here that goes through from WWE. So, yeah,
that works.
I'd have no problem.
No, I like that. No, neither would I. It's the interesting thing about it is if they do put Dragunov in Imperium, is how will I've never seen Dragunov and Walter on the same page. So it'd be very interesting to see how that dynamic would work and how long it would be before Dragunov would have enough and want the gold. That's the story that I'd like to see told, is Dragunov slowly becoming more and more envious of Gunther and wanting to prove that he's better than him and that he should be the champion, and eventually he snaps and goes for the title. I'd love to see that story told, because the end result is a match between them, which is always a banger. But the storyline, I think, could be told very, very differently, because they're both European. They have a different delivery to a lot of Western wrestlers. And I think that would help to no end. And personally, I know Chad is the odds-on favorite to beat Gunther, but it has to be Ilya Dragunov.
Yeah.
It has to be Ilya that beats Gunther for that title. It needs to be Ilya. It will literally do what the Intercontinental Champion used to do before he moved off to the main event, which is catapult a new guy to massive heights in the mid-card while you go off and become a World Heavyweight Champion, or at least the next top contender for the World Heavyweight Champion. Right. Yeah. But moving on. That is enough about our ring general. Next up, Andy, have you seen Collision this week?
Yes.
Yes. Now, we are in the first week of a post-CM Punk ECW then, in a post-CM Punk AEW world. What did you think? Did you think they presented the show any differently, not revolving it around Punk?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was very differently. I didn't think it had as much sports entertainment as what it did beforehand. It's kind of gone. It just looks like a mini Dynamite now, which I'll be honest, I'm not too impressed with. And I'll be having a very big question about whether I continue to watch it weekly, because if I'm going to tune in and watch something very similar to Dynamite, then I might not bother.
That was the thing. I noticed, with the exception of Brian's promo in the middle, which we'll get to in a minute, the show was essentially presented like Dynamite this week. Really good matches from top to finish. Hello, Ashton. Hello, Ashton. Our little lieutenant there popping in to say hi. Yes. But I don't know quite how to put it, but it just didn't have the same pizzazz that Collision has had since it started.
No.
The showmanship, if you will, that normally comes along with Collision, didn't appear to be there this week. Honestly, it felt more like Ring of Honor than it did AEW, which was strange. I'll still watch it every week because it's me, and I watch everything every week. I have a lot of free time. But it's no longer going to be at the top of my priority list on a weekend if they continue to show it the way it is.
No. Definitely not. I mean, I'm hoping. I know Tony Khan did state, I don't know whether you're seeing it, when he was saying about if anything ever happens to him, he stated that it should be really passed on to Bryan Danielson to do creative.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that means Danielson might get a bit more of a hand in Collision, and you may start seeing a bit more of a change again, but another positive change, and let Bryan have a go of it.
Well, that wraps us neatly into our next topic, which is all revolved into Collision this week, which is Bryan Danielson announced in a promo that when he was younger, he promised his daughter that when she turned 7, he'd finish up his career. And she's 6 now. So that means Bryan has 1 year left before he is done. And he said it's going to be the most epic year of his career. Now, I am hoping that AEW are going to use Bryan in the same manner they used CM Punk on Collision. Not only in a creative manner behind the scenes, but also as the focal point and the fulcrum that the whole show is built around. Because Bryan is a very unselfish wrestler. He's a very unselfish performer. He constantly gives. He loses a lot more matches than he wins. And even when he wins, look how much Ricky Starks got over this weekend in that strap match. Yeah. Just being on the losing side. Bryan even gave him credit in the press package afterwards for directing the match and running it on. I, like you, think Bryan Danielson has a fantastic mind for the business. I think he understands how professional wrestling should be presented. But I also think he understands that there is a certain amount of sports entertainment that is required to be sprinkled in to get the wider audience to pay attention.
Yeah. Ashton thinks Tony's focusing more on Fulham and Football Club and is not focused on Dynamite as much, and says hello to the Drip King.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, the thing with Tony is Tony's just got a style, hasn't he? And he's letting the boys get the matches off and stuff like that. But eventually, you're going to have to put a bit more thing into it. And it's fine. Dynamite's fine. But, you know, you want something a bit different from Dynamite to Collision, don't you? So, yeah, let's keep it. Hopefully, Brian does do that. But, yeah, as we say, he said he's going to, the last year of the Dragon.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one, mate, because I feel like he's done so much in his career now that he deserves everything he gets now. And I feel like there's not more left for him to accomplish, maybe an AEW title reign, just so he can say he's done it.
Yes, please.
But even with that, it's kind of like, you know, obviously with the match that they announced with Sabre, it's kind of like, yeah, all right, let him go and have his dream matches, let him put together what he wants to, and then when it's all said and done, put him backstage, get him into a role, creative role, because, you know, as we've said with the VPs and all the rest of it, is if you are wrestling and you are involved and you've got a horse in the race, you should not be involved in the creative of that.
Agreed.
In my opinion. You know, so hopefully when you've got somebody like Brian in the background who's doing it and he hasn't got that horse in the race no longer. Awesome.
No, it would be. That's the thing. We've always said that if wrestlers are still active, they should not have creative control. It's never a good idea to have the inmates running the asylum. There should always be an overhead. Let them have input. Let them work on storylines with the writers of the creative team, whoever it is that you have. But the eventual yes or no should come from high ups and should not have anything to do with the professional wrestlers. However, as you say, when the horse is no longer in the race, as you so succinctly put it, that's a completely different story, because there are years of experience, a wealth of knowledge and understanding of the actual sweet science of the sport that you do not get from being an outsider or a fan has just come into it. You never can understand it the way a wrestler can actually understand it. It will hopefully cause Brian, the show, to have a much more succinct flow, because Brian has always been a very smooth performer in the way he holds himself on a character standpoint from everything else. Pardon me. But I have to say, you mentioned it, dream opponents. Other than, as you said, hopefully an AEW title run, which I'd love to see Brian get, and he's obviously got the same match coming up. Who do you think is there for him now to wrestle in AEW that he can put those dream matches on with?
Ospreay.
Oh, please. Yes. Yes, please. Yeah. Yes, I would murder somebody to see that match. He's also technically the last person Will would have to beat to call himself the best in the world. Yeah. He's done Kenny, he's done Jericho, he's done Okada. Right, but moving on from Brian. What are we up to next? Sorry, I'm blind as a bat today. There we go. Both jumping the fence over to not from AEW to WWE. Jey Uso was recently announced by Cody Rhodes to have become the newest member of the Raw roster. And we have found out in backstage promos and vignettes that there will be a trade for Jey Uso to SmackDown. Now, I think we all know who I want this to be. So I'm going to ask you, Andy, who do you think it is and who do you want it to be? And how do you think they're going to use this to alter things?
So, I don't see them. I think the way they're doing it is, if my thing is correct, is they're going to use it to put Cody on SmackDown. I think Cody on Raw, he's been doing all right, but he's not being the main guy over there, has he? Let's face it. Which is fine. Not saying that thingy. I mean, maybe that. I think that's probably done by design because they were kind of keeping him away from Roman for a good while, same as what they're doing with Jey now. But it's a good way to get Cody back into the storyline with Roman, because if you're going to have that as your main event of 40, and you don't want Cody to win the Rumble, which I don't. Even from number one, I don't care. I don't want him to. Don't like 2 Royal Rumble winners in a row the same. Even when it was Austin, didn't like it. Then doing it this way and getting Cody back to SmackDown, yeah, I'm happy with it. It's a good way to do it. Am I still happy with the storyline? Not really, because it's kind of like meh. But, you know, by him doing the swap and getting himself over there,
Well,
they've got enough time to tell the story and get me interested. Because that was one thing last year.
yes.
Even though he won the Rumble, Cody, it was very, very rushed, the story between him and Roman, when it shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Well, Sammy got in the way, unfortunately, last year. That's the God's honest truth. It's Sammy.
Or the Cody.
No. The plans were for Cody. Sammy got in the way. Doesn't matter what the fans think. It comes down. No, it doesn't matter what the fans think. It comes down to what the company wanted in the first place, and they didn't want Sammy. Which is why he lost. But I completely agree with you. I think this is a vehicle to get Cody Rhodes back on SmackDown, and so he can finish the story. I think that was what he meant by when he said he cashed in all of his chips, and he hopes this goes well for him. And also, it gives another wrinkle to the Bloodline story, which it severely needs right now, because at the moment, it's not making a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Well, Roman's due back in November, isn't he?
Yes.
Or he'll be back for Saudi, probably, so he'll be back probably a little bit before then. So, if you look at it from that perspective, then it gives Cody at least 6 weeks to batter around with Solo and Jimmy for a bit, doesn't it?
Yes.
Before Roman gets back.
It does. But I think that depends on how long.
Paul Heyman coming out each week. You wait until the tribal chief gets back. You wait until he's back here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think that depends on how long it is before they pull the trigger on actually moving him over. Because so far they've just said, someone's going to get traded, but we don't know when they're actually going to do the trade. They may wait till Fastlane to announce that Cody's going to SmackDown or whoever it ends up being. This question, if it's not Cody, who do you think it's going to be? I can't think of anybody else that would make sense right now.
No.
Like,
Judgment Day, they've got the tag belts so they can go where they want.
Exactly.
No, doesn't really make sense of anybody else.
No, Cody's the only person that it seems to make sense for. And as I say, you could then have Roman be pissed off because he's interjected himself back into the family business.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's going to be that. That's the way that it's going to be. Like, is that Cody's going after Roman. Roman's going to be annoyed because he took Jay away from him, and then you've got you've got a big story to go there, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. Which, as I say, the Bloodline saga has fallen off a bit, and I think it needs an injection of some Cody Rhodes to help push it back to where it was a couple of months back. Actually, we're going to touch on that for a minute because why not? You've been paying attention to SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
it's been friggin' awful.
Yeah, it's been terrible. For those of you that don't know, so Jey Uso quit the Bloodline after Jimmy Uso screwed him out of the title at the pay-per-view. Jimmy said the reason he did this was because he was trying to stop Jey becoming Roman and becoming corrupted like the tribal by becoming the tribal chief. But he wasn't back in the Bloodline. Then last week, Solo tells him that you're only out the Bloodline when we tell you you're out the Bloodline. And Jimmy says, ain't you or Roman or Heyman can tell me what to do. But then we get round to this week's SmackDown, and Jimmy is back in Bloodline gear, and he's saying that he's back in. But Paul is saying there's in, and then there's in, and only Roman will decide when you're in. This doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, this is the thing, though. I suppose you've got to let it mature, but at the moment, I'm bang on with you. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know whether whoever's writing this has slightly changed. Possibly, but it just doesn't.
What it is they're struggling with Roman having time off, and they're trying to drag the story out, and this is the problem that you're having now, is this story could have been finished by now.
More than likely.
And, it's not. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what do we have to do to keep this going? It's like turning around and trying to keep somebody interested while they're waiting for the football to start or for the event to start or whatever, do you know what I mean? So they don't walk out. This is kind of where we're up to with this at the moment. It's the same type of thing for me anyway, is like, we're struggling.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's just after any story has been running for nearly 3 years, it's bound to have ebbs and ups and downs, peaks and flows. But I agree. I think Roman missing is what is missing from the storyline at the moment. It's preventing them from doing any major movement forward because Roman is the main fulcrum around the story. And if he's not there, you can't present any of the major choices around him.
No.
But yeah, anyway, we've talked enough about the bloodline for months and months and months and months and months. Let's move on back over to the AEW side of things. In fact, no, we'll stick with WWE. And then we'll move back into AEW in a minute. So, Seth Rollins allegedly has a fracture in his lumbar spine.
Yes, he does.
Now, this is a very bad injury. This is an exceptionally bad injury. And the only big thing I know about this is if you have surgery, it means you have to take a considerable amount of time off, to the point of maybe permanent time off. Now, Seth is working injured. This much we know. How long do you think he's going to run? Because he is running at an exceedingly high level before his body eventually turns around and tells him no.
It's one of them, mate, isn't it? And this is the problem that you've got, is he knows when his body's going to give up, not us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem that we have at the moment, is like, they've mentioned a back injury, but there's injury, you know, obviously I used to be a mixed martial arts fighter myself. I fought injured before today. But there's difference between me fighting with a calf strain or with, you know, a sore leg or whatever, or, you know, a pulled back. I fought with a pulled back before today. But then there's when I shattered my disc because I fragmented up into my spinal collar. That there's no way on earth I'm fighting with that. So what I'm trying to get at is it really does depend on where Seth is in terms of that. So how injured is he? And does he need to be stopping now, or can he still continue for a little while longer?
Well, I'd be under the assumption that he can still go because he currently is. But I don't want to see anybody get hurt for a long period of time. Shawn Michaels went and went and went and went and went, and then he lost 4 years of his career before he could come back and have the run of his life.
Let me ask you though, with Shawn, I don't know whether Shawn's was a lot to do with his own mental health though as well.
I would probably
said this.
There's a very good chance there was, because Shawn Michaels was not in a good place for a very, very long period of time.
He wasn't.
Like, he was not in a good place for a long period of time, and obviously he's come out of it, found Jesus, done numerous other things to sort his life out. But wrestling takes its toll on you. It takes its toll on you physically. It takes its toll on you mentally. It's a very draining life. The travel, the busy hours, the physicality. And I don't think we, realistically, as fans, take enough time to think, Jesus Christ, look what they put themselves through.
But I think with Seth though as well, mate, he's got a young kid there, and he's, you know, I think if he was that bad, he'd kind of go okay at times to take some time out here.
Well, that's the thing. Seth is a very ambitious man when it comes to being professional wrestling. He said for years he always wanted to be the best the business has ever seen. I think Seth will go to the wheels fall off.
But
I know
you've got to ask you, but hang on, that works both ways though. It really does work both ways, in the fact of, if because of his back is hampering him from being the best and doing the best matches that he can and stuff, will he turn around then and go, okay, I need to go and get this sorted because I'm not putting on these subpar matches?
That's what I mean. I think he'll go to the wheels fall off. He'll go to the point when, as far as he's concerned, he can't perform at the level he should be performing at. And then he'll go and get it done. The worry is that Seth is so good that he'll be able to go long past the point when he should not be able to go. And that's
I don't know. I think he's got a good people around him, like his missus and everything else. I don't think we'll see him go too far. I really don't. I think he will get it sorted sooner rather than later. And I think, I can't remember if it was yourself or Shai who mentioned it about the interjection between Becky and, oh God, what's her name now? Man's gone blank.
Wasn't
Payback. Tiffany.
Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, that potentially could be Seth going to get his, because they live in Florida, I believe.
I think so, yes.
So Seth could go and get his back done. Becky could end up on NXT going after the title she's never had.
She is going after the championship.
Yeah, spends all the time at home, but still keeps herself on TV.
Well, the match Stratton versus Becky's been booked, I think. So that match is happening. Yeah. And I really don't see Tiffany Stratton beating Becky Lynch. Like, it's a reject from the Barbie movie versus the Man. It's not going to go her way. It's not happening. It's not going to go her way. But moving on from Seth.
Sorry, just before we do move on, just to shout out personally to my all-time hero, The Rock. You know how much I love him and all the rest of it. So this was a little message that was put out by Mika Rotunda, who is the sister of Wyndham and Taylor, or Bray Wyatt and Bo. So publicly, my family would like to thank The Rock for his kindness and condolences and love the past 2 weeks. Like he did all people, Wyndham had a positive impact on him too, and DJ has kept our fridges and homes, yes plural, filled with meals and groceries. Love you, Ohana.
That, you see, is a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that is a lovely thing to do. Well done, The Rock. My
guy.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing to do. That's just a nice thing. It puts a smile on your face. But, as I'm saying, we must move on to the last thing of the day. AEW are putting on another show in Arthur Ashe Stadium. They are putting on Grand Slam. Arthur Ashe is a big place. Should get them a good crowd. Like, I don't think it'll get them a big crowd, but I think it'll get them a good crowd. I'm assuming it's a big place. It's a stadium.
It's 20,000, I think it is.
Oh, that'll be a good crowd. 20,000 is a good crowd. That's like a really busy Raw.
Yeah.
That's like a really busy Raw. That's a good crowd. So far, obviously we're going to have the final of the MJF versus the winner of the Eliminator tournament that's been running. The final is going to be Roderick Strong versus Samoa Joe next week. That should be really good. I'm assuming we're getting a rematch between Luchasaurus and Darby Allin. That appears to be the storyline they're telling. We're getting Soraya defending against either Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida, or who was the fourth person? I cannot remember. But it's shaping up to be a good card.
So at the moment, apparently, they've only sold 5,000 tickets for Arthur Ashe.
Oof.
Now, this is my problem with AEW, and it will be the problem with Wembley next year as well. I guarantee you, right? I mean, it may not be as bad with Wembley because it's British fans that are just nuts anyway. But the problem you got with AEW is AEW, they sold out Wembley, or they come close to it. It wasn't sold out. Still don't believe there was 80,000 there. But they don't capitalise on it. So when they first went to Arthur Ashe, they sold that place out. Right? So they absolutely completely swiped out. Couldn't get a ticket in it. I know our pal Dale went to that first one. And afterwards he was like, it was too long, it was boring, I'm not going again. And I think that is the problem with AEW is when they do it first really well. And I think it's more down to people being interested in what's going on and more kind of wanting to be nosy about what it's all about. So they want to experience that. But the problem AEW are having across the board is they can't seem to retain it.
Well, it's a similar problem to his booking. He puts a belt on somebody, the build towards that championship and winning the championship is amazingly done. And then when they've got the title, it's just kind of like, he's got a belt, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to be how he books from top to bottom. It seems to be how he books his shows. It's how he books the storylines. It's how he books the wrestlers. Tony's an odd one. Like, he's very...
I mean, do you know, to be honest with you, I thought AEW was really good when we went to it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But would I be in a rush to go back? I'd go again, and I'd enjoy it again. And I can say, like, you know, I was more to do with, like, you know, it was great to see we've seen Sting live. It was great to see we've seen and stuff. But it's like, when I go to a WWE show, the whole pageantry and the entertainment aspect and the fireworks and everything else that they do, like a WrestleMania with the special entrances and
The whole
all
package.
this. Yeah, the whole package, and it's kind of like with AEW, I could happily just watch it on the telly just as much as it could be in there.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was going to say. Like, if I had a choice between going back to All In next year or going to WrestleMania 40 next year, I'm picking WrestleMania 40. Obviously, for us, it's because it's in a different country, which is cool. But like, I loved All In. I thought it was a great show. It was amazing being part of that crowd. Getting to see Sting was phenomenal. But it's Tony Khan's been booking that company for nearly 5 years now.
Yeah.
In 5 years, you should have learned from some of your mistakes and not be making them anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas he doesn't seem to. He just keeps making...
I will have you a bet now, mate. £1 English bet.
Okay.
That they do not get the same attendance at Wembley next year as they did this year.
Okay, I'll take that bet. Like, it has to be lower, by the way, for you to win. Just saying.
Yeah.
If it's higher, I win. It's not going to be.
No, I don't think it will.
But also, Grand Slam, your favourite wrestler, Claudio Castagnoli, is actually putting the Ring of Honor World title up in a match against Eddie Kingston, where Eddie Kingston is also putting the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship up. Now, do you think this is obviously not going to main event Grand Slam?
No.
But do you think Grand Slam's going to have a pre-show? Where do you think MJF's obviously going to be the main event?
Well, Grand Slam's not going to have a pre-show because Grand Slam's just a Dynamite episode.
Oh, is it? I thought it was flipping an actual thing this time.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, they conned me. I thought it was an actual show. I didn't realize it was just an episode of Dynamite. Well, in that case, it's going to be a very stacked episode of Dynamite. A lot of title matches, and hopefully a lot of storyline progression. But who do you want to win the tournament, Joe or Strong?
Joe.
See, I don't want Joe to get the title shot at Grand Slam. I want Roderick Strong to get the title shot at Grand Slam, and then for Joe to get the title shot at Wrestle Dream.
Yeah.
Joe should get it on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, but because it's an episode of Dynamite, mate, you can find yourself out of that one that puts it up to Wrestle Dream, can't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point. No one's kick off if it's a bit of a blowout finish on Dynamite, are they?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, I think that one is where I would probably do it, but I don't know. I'm just at the point now where AEW at the moment, I'm just not really that interested. It's gone a bit slow.
Here's the thing, a random statistic for you. Collision last week. First collision where Tony Khan announced CM Punk had been fired. What percentage of the audience do you think changed the channel after he made that announcement?
Oh, a lot.
19%.
Fucking hell, it's a lot, isn't it?
That is a large portion of your viewership that were there to see one person and one person only. There's a reason the head of Warner Brothers called him One Bill Phil.
Yeah.
It's got to the point where it seems the WWE guys and the more old school guys are a bit annoyed that CM Punk is gone. But they seem to be more annoyed that Jack Perry has not been punished.
Yeah.
To the same degree.
He's still suspended, isn't he? So
but it's not full punishment. Well, he's not been fired, so it certainly isn't to the same degree. No. But no, we're not going on about Punk here. I just want to bring up the fact of they got Collision because of Punk. Do you think there's a good chance now that they lose Collision because they lost?
There's a contract there in place, isn't there?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a case of they don't have to renew that contract.
Well, they don't, but it's only not long been signed, hasn't it? So still be a
while. I suppose they've got a few years, haven't they? But the last thing that happened in AEW this week put a smile on my face. Jade Cargill is back. Jade Cargill returned on Collision.
Nobody cares.
Actually,
nobody cares.
the ratings went up for her segment. That,
But
which always amazes
this
me
is
when it's a
this is
surprise.
the thing, mate. This is what I don't care, and this is load of bullshit, right? Is how does somebody sitting there watching their telly go, "Ooh, Jade's come on now. I'm going to turn over." They don't.
We don't, but certain people will.
Yeah, I know, but
There's
not enough to make a big change in the ratings. I'm not buying it, mate.
But dude, she's a proven draw. All of her old sections on Dynamite were higher rated than most of the people that she was on. Yeah. She's popular. I don't know why, but she's popular. She's a fantastic athlete, so hopefully it will continue on. But anyway, congratulations, Jade, coming back. Glad she re-signed. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the show. Love you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Please, if you enjoyed the show, leave a like. It really helps us out. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows we exist. And if you really enjoy what we do, if you want to support the channel, please join the Legion and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will send you a personal thank you if you do, and put a comment down below. But that is all for this week. I've been Nick the Geek. Here's been Andy. And we will see you next week.